Dinorah Padro, thank you very much for joining us. So, to be clear, your title is officially the interpreter for Michael Curry, at least when you're with us.
No, that is not my title. I am a consultant, Spanish interpreter that has the great pleasure of having a long-standing relationship with the Episcopal Church.
And particularly, have you been interpreting for Michael Curry for a while? Because when we saw you at that revival the other night, you guys really have a rapport.
Well, yeah, he's amazing. Like, I just channel him. Whatever he does.
His spirit just oozes on.
He is, like, he just incarnates the spirit, really.
But is it more difficult with someone like Michael Curry because of the fact, I mean, when he speaks, he's got this cadence, he's got these movements. What's it like?
Well, it is wonderful because when I'm interpreting, what I do is I pretty much just connect to whomever I am interpreting for. So interpreting for the presiding bishop, Michael Curry, it's like otherworldly, really, because the way I perceive him is that he just allows the Spirit to just flow through him. It's just like he's a mouthpiece of God. And what I do is almost like I get myself out of the way. My opinions, my views, it's just out of the way, and I just allow that, whatever he is sending, then that is what flows through me. So,
and you do it really well. I mean, like I said, and I think the distinction, give us a distinction between an interpreter and a translator.
Okay, so an interpreter is someone who interprets in real time and voice. And a translator is someone who interprets recorded material, like written material. Like when in the context of a convention, presentations, sermons, interviews, those are interpreted. But resolutions are translated.
Because every word matters in this exact order.
Well, because it is written.
Because I always thought, I always understood in that to be an interpreter was more about the concept, right? So someone may be saying several words, but those words, if you just translate them directly, they're not going to make sense to the audience that's receiving them in Spanish, in this case, or whatever. So you actually try to get the concept, like, oh, this is what he's trying to say, and go with that.
That's true. So there's two words, right? In English, there's one word that has two possible meanings. Interpretation is what I do, which is interpret one language into another, and it is about the concepts and the message without missing the precision of it, right?
Got it.
But then there's also interpreting. Say that there's a book. No, that's too close to the sub-degree. Say that somebody said, Father Lebrija, he is amazing at interviewing.
Well, they would not be saying
that. They would be saying that because I have seen you, and you do a really, really good job.
Oh, thanks.
And I appreciate your work. Someone could interpret what you're saying in a slightly different slant. And that is a different word, a different semantical definition of the word interpretation. That's not what we're talking about in this context of interpreting. I'm not interpreting what presiding bishop says. I'm not giving it my own slant.
Correct.
I am not
like
giving it my own filter.
You try to get out of the way.
Right. It's his message that's coming through.
And to that end, do you find that the more you are interpreting for someone,
yes,
the more you can sort of get to know them, and thus you know their message better, so that way it's easier for it to flow?
Yes, for sure. The more I interpret for someone, the more, exactly like you said. And usually if I'm going to interpret someone who, for the first time, I try to have just a couple of minutes with them and just try to connect with them to get a feel, maybe know where they're from, if they're from a Latin American country, or to hear their cadence. And to let them know that we're a team, that we get to connect. If I don't hear what you're saying, I will not be able to tell them in your language.
I can't make it up.
I can't make it up. That's not my job.
Got it. Now, this is something you are certified in. This is what you do. This is what you're trained to do. This is because people think, oh, that's so easy. If you just speak both languages, just get up there and translate, right? And you're like,
try it out.
Yeah, try it out. It's not that easy. B. So you did tell me about that.
Okay. So yes, I am certified conference and court interpreter. So
Oh.
I actually, my first certification was in conference interpreting long ago in the year 2000 and
You're way too young, so it doesn't
Four.
matter. It's just way too young for it to be a long time ago.
in the year 2001. And then I
Wow.
became a court interpreter in the year 2002.
Okay.
Certified court interpreter. So yes, I have those two.
And those are
certifications.
very, obviously that's a very specific sort of training, because in court you
Yes.
want to make sure that the right,
Oh,
that
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
That is a more precise. I mean, these are a matter of life and death sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not guilty. My client says he's totally guilty. It's
My
like,
client
thank
says
you.
he did it, but he doesn't want to tell you.
And that would be the last day as a court interpreter,
Indeed.
right?
Yeah.
So tell us about you, because we have seen you in some videos with the presiding bishop.
Okay.
Many people have heard your voice
Yeah,
a lot. They may not have seen you in person. This is Dinorah. Tell us, like, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I was born in Puerto Rico in the year 1971. I am 46 years old.
Wow, you just owned that right up.
Indeed, yes.
That's
Bring
right.
it up.
And as you should. As you should. Why should we all hide from our ages?
Right?
Yeah,
It is what it is. Can't turn back or forward.
that's true.
Yeah.
And so you moved from Puerto Rico, your family moved, you did. Tell us about
So I moved to Utah, the United States of America, in 1992.
Okay.
I transferred. I was going to the University of Puerto Rico. I transferred to Brigham Young University.
Okay.
And graduated 2 years later.
And were you studying
yeah.
like languages or interpretation or that sort of thing, or no?
No. I was studying psychology.
Oh,
So that was my first passion, ontology, the understanding of what makes humans tick.
Oh, wow.
In our connection with God. So I know, it's kind of cool.
and how
to
did you
hear.
make your way like towards interpreting, and in particular interpreting for the church? I know you're a contractor, but how did that connection happen? How did that?
Okay. So you asked two questions. Which one do you want me to?
Wow, you see, she's very good about making sure what she's hearing and what she's answering in the question. So, how did you make your way towards the Episcopal Church?
Okay. So I was already an interpreter for conferences, and I already had my 2 certifications, and I was in a listing for a national professional organization called the American Translators Association. And it was in the year 2006 when the House of Bishops was having a special meeting of the House of Bishops because of matters of, actually it was when there were matters of sexuality, that conversation of human
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they were gathering in Salt Lake City, and the person who was in charge of looking for interpreters locally, he went into this website, found my name, seeing that I was a certified conference interpreter with a specialty in religion. And it was like love at first sight. It was
wow.
that first conference. I was pregnant. I was 9 months pregnant, and it was a God thing, I think.
Absolutely.
We just the skills and the on both sides. It's just a beautiful match.
Well, that's
and,
awesome.
I've
to
been in
hear.
love with the Episcopal Church ever since.
Wow. You see, we need to get more word of that out there.
Oh, for sure, yes. Spread it out.
And tell me, what's been the weirdest translation you've ever done, where you're interpreting for someone and it's just like, whoa, this is going weird, real quick.
Weird.
Yeah, like this is
Weird.
odd.
Odd. I don't know about odd.
what?
Because I don't usually judge when I'm interpreting.
But you really live by that.
It's a profound code of ethics.
That's
Yes.
good for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Good for you. That you're not always just like, ooh, I'm going to say this, but this person's down. You know that you're.
What I can tell you though is that I have interpreted for, for the presiding bishop. That's like the top of the line as far as I understand. I've interpreted in the gardens of the Queen of England, Buckingham Palace.
Nice.
I've interpreted for heads of state, but I've also interpreted for immigrants. I have interpreted in court for a session where the mother and their children were going to be separated, and the whole courtroom was in tears because the mother was going to be deported at that moment. So, I mean, there's...
Do moments like those, I mean, I know that you try to remain separate, but do moments
Yes.
like those, how do you manage to keep like your own sort of like, oh my God, this is really awful for this person? How do you try to keep that?
There's a space.
Okay.
I am aware that I am here to serve as a bridge and to facilitate greater understanding between two parties. I have interpreted for some really, really heartbreaking situations, and then after I go home, of course, I'll cry.
Yeah. But you manage to hold that space at that moment.
Yes.
That's like a spiritual discipline in and of itself, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the gift that I bring to the world.
Excellent. Well, Dinorah, thank you so much for being with us today. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. It's fascinating to be able to just take a peek as to the work that you do, and you do it very well.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you.